Lara Croft from Tomb Raider Fourms asks, how many times do you try before registering or maybe recording the sounds that Lara does, for example, when she climbs? So how many attempts, I guess?
I think for when she climbs, we went through quite a few different... At least we had quite a few different sets of grunts.
Mm-hmm.
And we had like 5 or 6 different sets of like maybe 10 different grunts each per set. And we just tried a bunch of different ones until one sounded like she was climbing.
Okay. Dizzy Doyle from Tomb Raider Fourms asks, does Keely do that immense scream? Because that's so freaking awesome. If so, I bet she felt silly. Kudos to her anyway. It's my favourite Lara death scream.
Oh, cool.
So the immense scream when Lara like falls off of stuff?
Yeah, I think you mean this one. And Apathetic from TombRaiderForms.com asks, whose idea was it to make Lara say time to run? And then he's put a bit of a confused emoticon next to it. So I guess would that be Daniel Newberger, the creative director with whom I shall be recording a podcast next week, potentially?
Yeah. That's Daniel's fault, or I guess
stroke of excellence and genius.
If you don't like it, it's his fault. And you can
ask a question about that next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Ants27 asks, when Keely's recording, does she add her own one-liners or add in any way to the dialogue she's presented with in the script? And Egypt Gypsy also asked a similar question.
She doesn't really ad-lib. She just pretty much gives you the line as you want it.
So moving on to Totek, Michael DT from Tomb Raider Forums asked, does Totek get any dialogue, and if so, how much does he speak? Dan Biss from the Eidos Fourms also asked. Yeah,
Totek has a lot of dialogue. He speaks probably as much as Lara, maybe a little less.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he has dialogue.
Cool. Matt TR. Hello, Matt TR. He's recorded a question, and this is how it goes.
Hey, this is Matt TR from TRF. My question is, was Totek, the ancient Mayan warrior, always your number one choice for the second player in the game? Or did you have another idea, maybe another character or other concepts?
Sounding good, Matt. I guess that's more of a question for Daniel Newberger again, because it's kind of a creative direction kind of question. So that's something that we'll be answering in the next podcast. Tipping Water from TombRaiderForums.com wants to know who provides the voice for Totek. And no, it's not Keely's voice, transformed with the amazing Zolot machine. And Daniel, Dark, Seven Angel, and TR Lestu also asked that.
It's Jim Cummings.
Right, and I believe he's done quite a lot of work in his career.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff, and you will probably recognize his voice when you hear it. But yeah, Jim was really great, and he's an actor who ad-libs, and he also gives you a lot of variation in his delivery. So typically when you get the recordings back, you usually have a lot to pick from. So that was really nice.
Jim did the voice for Totek and Zolot.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jim Cummings also plays Zolot, and so we used the little bit of some voice filtering to make him sound more evil, and I think it works better on him than it does on most of the people who ask questions.
That's a matter of opinion. And
I'm not saying that these people don't have great voices. It's just Jim Cummings has a very specific voice that Zolot machine was custom created for. So
tailored, bespoke. So, well, Nightwish has another question.
Totek is a warrior of thousands of years old, and it doesn't really make sense for him to be speaking in English. Did you face any difficulties when working on him, like the accent or the overall sound of him?
I guess we kind of answered that. Well, I answered that with the lovely Forest last week in the podcast, and if you'd like to hear the answer to that, then you have to listen to last week's. But it was an artistic, creative decision that they made that I can't remember what the language was called that Totek would have actually been speaking, but there would have been a lot of...
It was called Nahuatl.
That's right. I feel like that, yeah. So it
would have been hard to understand.
We went with English. Nico Croft from the Eidos Forum wants to know if Lara screams when she falls, which we've established she most certainly does. And what about Totek? Does Totek scream?
Totek does scream. Have
you queued that up?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you
That's what he sounds like.
Another question from Noodles RW, or Noodle SRW.
Noodles are...
Yes. And he's recorded it again.
Were you able to record the voice acting for Guardian of Light with the actors together, or did you have to dub separate recordings together for the final cut?
That's something that I'm thinking about. And when we recorded them, they were separate. And you can get if you have actors in the same space, they can react to one another. Sometimes, that can be complicated because then you have essentially one other's or an actor's lines recorded over another actor's sometimes if they speak over each other. But I think you can get some really great performances that way.
Totek and Zolos were done at the same place.
Yeah, but even still, those guys were. Even though they didn't go back and forth, it took some time to establish what Zolot's voice would sound like in comparison to Totek. So we actually did them afterwards. If we had done them back and forth, I think that typically works pretty well in animation. That when it's like if it's something. Like a series animation where the actors are very, very familiar with the characters, but when you just have one recording session, typically you want to get the character's voice right, and then while that's in their mind, you want to get all the lines.
Dingaling has recorded a question, which I believe we may have kind of touched on before, but we'll play it anyway because it's funny to listen to the Zolot machine. For me.
How much input do the voice actors have in recording their dialogue? Are they free to try and record a few different versions, or is there a specific delivery that the team either wants or needs for each line?
So that's Zolot from Glasgow, somewhere in the west of Scotland, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, he sounds good through the Zolot machine. I think, they have as much input as they want to give, really. We're pretty open to suggestion. I mean, typically with Keely, she was very good at picking out the phrases that were not so British.
Mm-hmm.
And so she could find, she could pick those out and change the script so that it was
a little bit more Lara-like.
Yeah, a little bit more Lara-like. For the most part, though, in terms of the way that the line was delivered, they would pretty much, we would give them the direction and the context and where they were, and then they would then take from that and give their interpretation of that. Unless the actors, like for example, Jim Cummings would give a lot of different variations. Unless the actor wanted to do that, I didn't push an actor to say, okay, do one that's like now like this and now like this, because I think that can be very, very distracting. I think a lot of the times what you want to do is start with whatever the actor interprets the line as. And if that's not exactly what you're thinking, you give a little bit of direction because maybe you didn't express something clearly the first time.
Okay. James Green 91 says, also, and I don't know if it's class sound effects, kind of is, when it comes to developing the game, are the voices of the character recorded before the actual design of the locations and characters? And I think, given that you two have done the voice acting for Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, it's safe to say that I guess it's kind of designed out. And
yeah, you get temporary stuff in there and you see how it plays in the game and you suddenly go, oh, well, that was a bad idea. And
then sound like a woman.
Yeah, Lara doesn't sound like me. And then you sort of refine it then and you get it closer until you're pretty sure that it's exactly the way you want it. And then you get the actual actors to do it.